The boy reached into his pocket and pulled out something small. Simon Cowell raised his hand. And everything stopped. America's Got Talent. Tuesday night. Summer 2018. The Dolby Theater in Los Angeles packed with thousands of people, cameras rolling live, millions watching from home. Another audition night. Another parade of dreams and talents, and people hoping for their big break. The stage lights were bright. The judges sat at their red desk. Simon Cowell in his signature black shirt, arms crossed, that familiar expression of skeptical anticipation. Howie Mandel was joking with the audience. Heidi Klum was smiling. Sofia Vergara was chatting with the production assistant. Everything was routine. Host Terry Crews stood center stage with his usual energy. "All right, let's bring out our next act." A boy walked onto the stage. Maybe 12 years old. Small for his age. Wearing jeans that were a bit too big and a plain t-shirt that had seen better days. His sneakers were worn. His hair was neatly combed but needed a cut. He walked slowly, carefully, like someone carrying something fragile. When he reached his mark on the stage, he stopped. He didn't wave to the audience. He didn't smile. He just stood there, one hand in his pocket, the other hanging at his side. Terry Crews approached with his microphone. "Hey there! What's your name, young man?" "Daniel," the boy said quietly. His voice barely carried through the theater's sound system. "Daniel! Welcome to America's Got Talent! Where are you from?" "Phoenix, Arizona." "And how old are you, Daniel?" 12. Terry smiled encouragingly. "And what are you going to do for us today?" Daniel didn't answer immediately. His hand was still in his pocket, gripping something. His eyes scanned the judges' table, landing on Simon Cowell. "Before I audition," Daniel said, his voice stronger now, "I need to show you something." He pulled his hand from his pocket. In his palm was a harmonica. Old. Worn. The chrome plating was scratched and dull in places. It looked like it had been carried in pockets for years, played thousands of times, held by hands that had loved it. Daniel held it up toward the judge's table. The boy on stage pulled something from his pocket, and Simon Cowell raised his hand to stop everything. That object was the only thing his father had left him. Simon's entire body went rigid. His arms uncrossed. His hands pressed flat against the desk surface. That skeptical expression vanished, replaced by something the audience had never seen on Simon Cowell's face before: complete, unguarded shock. The other judges noticed immediately. Howie leaned toward Simon. "You okay?" Simon didn't respond. He was staring at the harmonica like it had reached across the stage and grabbed him by the throat. Terry Crews, sensing something was wrong, stepped closer to Daniel. "That's a beautiful harmonica, Daniel. Does it mean something special to you?" Daniel's eyes filled with tears. "My dad gave it to me. It's the only thing I have left of him." The audience went silent. The casual chatter stopped. 3,000 people suddenly uncertain what they were witnessing. Simon stood up. Not the casual standing he sometimes did during performances. This was abrupt. Urgent. His chair scraped backward loudly enough that the microphones caught it. "Daniel!" Simon's voice cut through the theater, sharp and commanding. "Wait! Don't say anything else yet!" Daniel froze, the harmonica still raised, confusion crossing his face. Simon stopped the show. No one knew what was happening. The control room erupted into chaos. Director sitting at the monitors, hand on the headset. "What's Simon doing? Did we miss something in pre-interviews? Do we cut to commercial?" Executive producer standing behind him. "No. Keep rolling. Something's happening." On stage, Simon was walking around the judge's desk. Not toward the stage. Toward the wings. Toward the production area where the show's staff huddled. "Cut his microphone," Simon said to a sound technician. "Right now." "But Simon, we're live." "I don't care. Cut it. Now." Terry Crews' microphone went dead. The confused host looked at his mic, tapped it, then looked toward the wings where Simon had disappeared. The audience was completely confused. Howie, Heidi, and Sophia exchanged glances, none of them understanding what was happening. Simon reappeared from the wings 30 seconds later. He was carrying a chair. A simple black folding chair. He walked across the stage floor, something judges never did during auditions, and placed the chair directly in front of Daniel. "Sit down," Simon said, his voice gentle now, all the famous harshness gone. Daniel sat, still holding the harmonica, tears streaming down his face now. Simon crouched down in front of him, eye level with the boy, completely ignoring the cameras, the audience, the other judges, everything except this 12-year-old child holding an old harmonica. "Daniel," Simon said quietly, his voice picked up only by the overhead boom microphones. "Before we go any further, I need to know something. And I need you to tell me the truth. Can you do that?" Daniel nodded, unable to speak. "How did your father die?" The boy's face crumpled. "Car accident. 6 months ago. He was driving home from work and someone ran a red light." Simon's jaw clenched. His eyes closed briefly. When he opened them again, they were wet. "And this harmonica," Simon said, gesturing to the instrument in Daniel's hands. "This is what he left you." "It's all I have," Daniel whispered. "Mom sold almost everything to pay the hospital bills and the funeral. We lost our house. We're living with my grandma now. But I kept this. Dad played it every night before bed. He taught me how to play it," he said. Daniel's voice broke. "He said music was the only thing that couldn't be taken away from you. That as long as you could make music, you could make hope." The theater was dead silent. Not a cough. Not a whisper. 3,000 people holding their collective breath. Simon stood up slowly. He turned to face the audience, and for the first time in his television career, Simon Cowell looked vulnerable. "Lost. I need to tell all of you something," he said, his voice carrying through the theater without the need for amplification. "Something I've never talked about publicly." He gestured toward Daniel. "When I was 13 years old, my father gave me a harmonica. Not an expensive one. Just a cheap one he bought at a music shop. He wasn't musical. He couldn't play it. But he gave it to me and said, 'Simon, I don't understand this music business you're so interested in, but I believe you'll figure it out. Keep this as a reminder that I believe in you.'" Simon's voice cracked. He paused, composing himself. "My father died when I was 23. Sudden heart attack. I was in the middle of starting my career. I just signed my first real artist. I thought I was going to change the music industry. And then he was gone, and I realized he'd never see it. Never see any of it. Subscribe and leave a comment, because the most powerful part of this performance is still ahead." Simon reached into his pocket, a gesture that mirrored what Daniel had done moments ago. He pulled out something small and held it up. A harmonica. Old. Chrome plating worn. Nearly identical to the one Daniel held. "I've carried this every single day for 37 years," Simon said. "Through every audition. Every recording session. Every business meeting. Every success and every failure. It's been in my pocket reminding me that my father believed in me even when he didn't understand what I was trying to do." The audience gasped. Howie Mandel had tears streaming down his face. Heidi was crying openly. Sophia had both hands over her mouth. Simon walked back to Daniel and crouched down again. "May I see yours?" Daniel handed over the harmonica with trembling hands. Simon examined it carefully, turning it over, running his fingers along the worn edges. "Your father played this a lot, didn't he?" "Every single night." "What did he play?" "Whatever I asked for. Sometimes songs from the radio. Sometimes songs he made up. Sometimes just sounds. Happy sounds when I was sad. Calm sounds when I was scared." Simon handed the harmonica back. "And you're going to play it for us today?" Daniel nodded. I want to play the last song he taught me. The night before the accident. He said it was his favorite song, but he never played it for anyone else. Just me. What's it called? He called it Hope Lives Here. Backstage, producers were begging him to continue, but he didn't. In the control room, the executive producer was practically screaming into the headset. Simon, we're 15 minutes over schedule. We need to move on. We need to. Simon reached up and removed his earpiece. Dropped it on the stage floor. He wasn't listening to anyone except the boy in front of him. He stood and walked to the golden buzzer. That massive red button that sent acts straight to the live shows. The button that was supposed to be saved for the most exceptional talents. The button that judges fought over because they only got one per season. Simon's hand hovered over it. Terry Crews, watching from the side of the stage, finally understood. He walked over, his own eyes wet with tears. Daniel, Simon said, his hand still hovering over the buzzer. I'm going to do something that's going to seem backward. I'm going to press this button before you perform. Do you know what this button does? It sends people to the live shows, Daniel said quietly. It does. And I'm pressing it now not because of how well you can play that harmonica, though I have no doubt you're about to play beautifully. I'm pressing it because you walked onto this stage carrying your father's legacy in your pocket, and you had the courage to share it with all of us. You're standing here 6 months after losing everything, and you're still trying to make hope. That's the bravest performance I've ever seen on this stage. Simon's hand slammed down on the golden buzzer. Golden confetti exploded across the stage. The audience erupted, not with excited screaming but with something deeper. Thousands of people standing, applauding through tears, witnessing something that transcended television. Daniel stood frozen, harmonica clutched to his chest, unable to process what was happening. Simon walked over and knelt beside him one more time. He pulled his own harmonica from his pocket and pressed it into Daniel's free hand. I want you to have this, Simon said. I want you to carry both of these. Your father's and mine. Two fathers who believed their sons could make something beautiful even when the world was hard. You take these, and you remember that you're not alone in this. But what happened next, no one in the theater, or watching at home, could ever forget. Daniel looked down at the two harmonicas in his hands. His father's worn instrument that had played him to sleep every night of his childhood. And Simon Cowell's harmonica, carried for 37 years through an empire-building career. Will you play with me? Daniel asked, his voice small. Simon's eyes widened. What? Will you play Hope Lives Here with me? So it's not just me up here alone? Simon Cowell, who had never performed music publicly in his life, who had built his entire career on judging others' performances, nodded. I don't know the song, Simon admitted. I'll teach you. It's easy. My dad said the best songs are the ones anyone can play. They sat on the stage together. Daniel showed Simon the simple melody, just a few notes, repeating, building on each other. The kind of song a father would create for his son. Simple. Pure. Full of love. And then they played. Two harmonicas. One carried for 6 months since a father's death. One carried for 37 years since a different father's death. Together, they created a melody that filled the Dolby Theater with something that hadn't been there before. The cameras kept rolling. The audience stood in reverent silence, many crying openly. Howie Mandel was sobbing. Heidi Klum had makeup running down her face. Sofia Vergara was hugging the production assistant beside her. When the final note faded, Simon pulled Daniel into an embrace. The boy collapsed into it, the grief he'd been holding finally breaking free. Simon held him while he sobbed, whispering words the microphones couldn't catch but everyone understood. Your father is so proud of you, Simon said loud enough for everyone to hear. And he's still with you. Every time you play that harmonica, he's there. The standing ovation lasted 4 minutes. The longest in AGT history. Share and subscribe, so this story will never be forgotten. After the show, Simon established a music scholarship in Daniel's father's name. Daniel performed in the live shows carrying both harmonicas. He didn't win the competition, but he didn't need to. Simon Cowell never pressed another golden buzzer that season. He said he'd already seen his winner. Today, both harmonicas sit in a glass case in Simon's office in London. A plaque beneath them reads, "Hope lives here where two fathers taught their sons that courage sounds like music."